It finally happened. Red Bull had some bad luck, but as well as the drivers just not driving to their full capacity. The car was out of shape. So finally, 2 Red Bulls out. We have a completely different top 10, and the race is looking very exciting when it comes to race pace and who can actually go and win this race, because it will be extremely close. And let me give you my predictions going into tomorrow's race. Okay, so let's start off with Q1. I mean, Lance Stroll put in a beautiful lap into the wall. I don't know what this guy's doing, honestly. I mean, listen, I have a lot of sympathy for Lance. I like Lance, but at this point, it's becoming unacceptable for him to be driving that car and doing what he's doing with it. He was down like 3 tenths going into that last sector on Bottas. Bottas was 16th. Everybody else was also improving on their time. So he needed to find like 8 tenths in reality to actually make it through to Q2. Probably not 8 tenths, but maybe 6 to 5. He expected to make that all in a couple of corners in that last spot. So he flung the car in and had that huge crash, which I'm very glad he's okay from. He will be racing tomorrow. The medical staff just confirmed that he will be P20, probably racing tomorrow. They're probably going to start him from the pit lane. Maybe they'll change some things. We'll see. Put in a new engine. Wouldn't really hurt considering what he's done to the car. It's just unacceptable at this point. This car was super fast here, and Lance was nowhere. Nowhere. On his first lap, he was nowhere. He was impeded, to be fair, but then he put in a second lap, was still nowhere, and then this third lap was nowhere as well. So Lance is not having a great season, honestly. It's a bit sad to see. I wish he was doing a lot better, but continuing him in this car, it's a sad thing to watch. For the Alfa Romeos, I kind of expect them to fall out. Not really a shock there. Oscar, unlucky yet again. Logan, the car is not great, but Logan wasn't really putting in great laps either, because Albon actually made it through, and Albon was a whole 6 tenths faster. So yes, Logan was not great. Piastri unlucky. As for Bottas and Sal, not much to say. The car was bad. Let's go into Q2. Into Q2, Yuki actually made it through. We had Albon, Perez, Gasly, and Verstappen. They all fell out into Q2. Now, for Q2, the car, the actual Red Bull car, is very unstable. The new floor, from what they're saying, is actually making the car horribly unstable. They reverted to the old floor, and yet again, still the same issues. They lowered the car. A Haas was faster than them. I'm going to tell you something. Max and Perez both made a lot of mistakes. I mean, Max is probably going to drop down to like P16 by tomorrow's race. With the impeding and everything, it's going to be a tough time for him. I think it's impossible for Max to win. If he does, I mean, just give this guy the trophy and let him go home and take a rest and just sim race for the rest of it, because this guy is clearly better than everybody else if he wins tomorrow. I mean, like, that would be... I don't even care if there's 3 safety cars and he still somehow wins. It would be insanity. But regardless of that fact, though, Max had an off day. Let's be honest. That car is not slower than Nico Hülkenberg and Kevin Magnussen. That Haas is not that fast. Even though it is like a Ferrari copy and Ferrari was amazing here, regardless, this car has been gone the whole season. The tires shred like butter. I know Red Bull is quicker than the Haas. They weren't that great here. The car wasn't stable, but they were also probably not expecting the car to be in that type of real driving style. Albon outperformed the Williams. Honestly, he couldn't have done much better. Yuki, I don't know what happened to his second lap. I'm still trying to figure it out. I know he got impeded on the first one, and that kind of screwed up his lap and made him slower. But what happened in the second? I don't know. It wasn't a great showing for Yuki, unfortunately. Pierre Gasly, I thought he was going to put in a banging lap considering how he did in Q1, but unfortunately didn't come through. Let's go into now Q3. As for Q3, this is where I want to speak about on everybody. First of all, Liam Lawson. Oh, this guy, man, give him a seat. This guy's amazing. Out-qualifying Yuki already. He actually got Max Verstappen out. Hey, look, quicker than the 2 Red Bulls. Get this guy a seat. Get him a seat. No, I mean, Liam is great. Liam really is a great driver to watch. Unfortunately, he's in the AlphaTauri, but the AlphaTauri seems to be kind of improved. And hopefully next year, they're a lot better. Now, as for Haas, how they made it through the Q3? Well, first of all, in Q1, they went out at the right time. Secondly, in Q2, yet again, they picked a perfect time to go through, and they had actual good lap times. The car was fast, but the car wasn't that fast. Like, let's be honest, like, K-Mag outqualified Hülkenberg by 3 tenths in Q3. Now, that's impressive by itself. K-Mag loves his track, though. He's had the track record for a long time. If it wasn't for these 10 seconds additional to well, 10 seconds off because of the new track layout, K-Mag still would have had the track record, believe it or not, which is hilarious to even think. But yes, K-Mag loves his track. Nico has not been here for a long time, so probably finding some setup struggles and really just in general struggling with the car. Haas's pace mainly consisted of those slow speed corners and accelerate on the throttle out of them very quickly. So impressive by Haas. We already know they're going to drop down to P. Here, let me give you the prediction for Haas in this race. I'm gonna say a P16 and a P13. P13 K-Mag, P16 Hulkenberg. And I'm saying within the first 20 laps that's gonna happen because this car shreds like butter. We know that. So unfortunately, pretty fast car, no tires. So is it really that fast? Not really. That's part of the game. Now, as for Alonso, you guys know I'm an Alonso fan. You guys know I love Aston Martin, but unfortunately, both of them made mistakes. Let's be honest here. Fernando only improved by 2/10 going from Q2 to Q3. So that's the first issue. There wasn't that much improvement because his tires weren't in the right window. At the end on the radio, he was like, I put everything into that lap, which I agree, he did. Watching it on board, he did, but the tires weren't in the right window, which is also on Fernando to put them. Also on the team though, they put him out early, but guess what? K-Mag's Haas was out before him. K-Mag out-qualified him. That car is not faster. It's not. Like, the Aston Martin is the faster car. In every single session when going out first, he was quicker. It was just those last spots where it was important to get the car out in the very last seconds of the qualifying to be the last one crossing the line going for the last qualifying lap. And what did they do? They put him out like practically in the middle. It made no sense why they were... Aston Martin's strategy is trash. I'm just gonna be honest. It's not good. They're always lacking in some type of way. Monaco, it was decent, but other than that though, the strategy has been awful. Regardless though, that's the guy to look out for on the race. Had the fastest race pace. Starting from P7, he's gonna pass the Haas, maybe even a lap 1. It'll be a good race for Aston Martin. It's unfortunate that they couldn't qualify quicker, but I'm still going to predict a podium for Fernando Alonso here at minimum. Let's talk about now the big dogs. Let's talk about Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes, because these are the top 5 that we have. So we have Lewis, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Sainz, going from 5 to 1. As for Lewis, he was off all weekend, let's be honest. George had the better of him. Congrats to George. He's had a couple of off weekends and has been behind Lewis for a good amount. One race that it matters where he can actually get a win, Lewis is behind, unfortunately. Now, let's see, because like we know that the Aston Martin is set up for the race. Is the Mercedes set up for the race? Let's see, because maybe they have 2 different setups. Maybe Lewis is the one that's better on his tires. Let's see. McLaren, I think they pulled out whatever they could have out of this car. They're making upgrades very specific and they are working for the car. Something Aston Martin has to take a hint out of. Like, look at McLaren. Slow speed, they were like, we're gaining a lot of slow speed here. They gained a lot of slow speed. Lando was about 3 to 4 tenths faster than Oscar Piastri usually. So this was great for him. Ferrari, Leclerc had the pole position up until the very last corner where he has some oversteer and had to correct the car. Russell was very close, but Carlos Sainz, my driver of like the weekend and really the past 3 weekends, Sainz has been on it. Sainz has just been on it. In Zandvoort, in Monza, and now here in Singapore, he has been the better of Leclerc. And I'm not talking about just like by a little. I'm talking about like a good amount better. It's very close between these two in general, but like Sainz is really proving why he can actually potentially put himself in that conversation of being a #1 driver. Like, he's kind of in this way exposing Leclerc. Like, this is Leclerc's ground. He beat him in qualifying now twice. Leclerc claimed the last time it was because of a toe. No toe. And here, what toe are you going to get? So it was on Leclerc here. In the race, Carlos is usually the driver that's a little bit better on his tires. So let's see. Ferrari do have a big chance here. Let's talk about my predictions now that we're done with all the qualifying order. Well, I do think Ferrari are going to be good, but their tires are going to shred. I think it's going to be tough for them to hold on to the podium. I think Mercedes here is really, really looking good. Honestly, I'm going to predict George Russell winning this race. I think that George can win this race, and I think that Fernando is going to get P2. Now, yeah, it's a big, tall task to ask. He is P7, but I think it's going to be a full-out Mercedes engine podium. I'm going for George, Fernando, Hamilton. And my thought process behind that is, yeah, Hamilton's in front, but I think Fernando's going to get an excellent start. But it's going to be really hard for him to catch George. Now, Lando is going to be sticking with the Ferraris. I think it's going to be Ferraris in P4 and P5 with Lando in P6. And from then, I think it's going to be P7, Max Verstappen, and that's kind of where my prediction ends. We'll see what happens from P7 onwards, but I do think from P1 to 7, that's kind of how the order is going to look like. Now, the Mercedes cars in general are the best cars on pace. I think the McLaren still has to work on a little bit of tire wear. They're still struggling a little bit, and Ferrari, same thing. But who knows? I mean, if you're able to hold the other car behind, apparently a lot of heating up issues. When you're behind, then it's really hard to overtake. So Fernando could get screwed. Hamilton could get screwed. If Lando's great on his defending, it could be a very close race. But I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. I'm excited for tomorrow. I think tomorrow is going to make for the best race of the year. Hopefully, like Zandvoort, another thriller. And I don't want rain. I just want it to be like an exciting battle for the top. And I just don't want Max Verstappen to win. Honestly, like, I love the guy, but let it rest. Let's get another winner for this year. Something exciting for our Formula 1 season. Let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world. And peace.